Good morning, class. Happy Monday. Today we're going to be starting a new unit on the Renaissance. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend and are ready to start this new unit. Um, like I said in the announcements, everything we've done up to this point has been great. Thank you for your hard work. I am not going to be testing you over that. That is way too much information, and I kind of feel like I probably should have done a quiz in the middle there, but there really wasn't a good natural stopping point. But I just don't think it'd be fair to you to do that. So we're going to start a second unit here, which is called Emergence of the Modern World. And today we're going to start learning about the Renaissance. And in our class here today, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to talk about Renaissance and what it means, what the rebirth is, what Renaissance values are, and what I'd like for you to do is to copy that information down into your notes. So what you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to stop, pause the video in order to write this information down, because I'm going to be explaining stuff that is not directly on the slides that I'm presenting. So let's get to it. All right, so the Renaissance is a period of time that is basically follows the end of the Middle Ages. Okay, so it follows the end of the Middle Ages, and it begins right around the 14th century, which would be the 1300s, and the Renaissance literally means, in Italian, it means rebirth. All right, so it's defined as two things: rebirth or revival of culture. All right, and what it means for what is rebirthed is it is a change in what is celebrated and what is valued. So what is being rebirthed is basically our values. Okay, so the values that we once had or that Europeans once had are being rebirthed, and they are now new again. Okay, so it is this revival of culture. And if you think of the word revival, we're talking about things that used to be, and then maybe they were gone, or maybe they were just forgotten, or maybe not popular at times, and now they're back. Okay, so we are reviving some culture here. All right. It is the transition from medieval to the modern world. Now, the Middle Ages is sometimes referred to as medieval Europe, and in that we're talking about, the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, the Age of Chaos, the Age of Feudalism, everything that we just kind of studied last unit. That's all done, and now we're starting a new era called the modern world. And I know when you think of the word modern, you think of like things that are up to date or things that are current or contemporary. But in world history, modern world history really begins with the Renaissance. It is the new world, okay? So modern world. It is also a rebirth in four specific areas, okay? And the first is art. And if you think about like Renaissance art, think about like the Mona Lisa, or great artists like Da Vinci and Michelangelo and Raphael. All right, think of the Ninja Turtles, right? Those are all named after Renaissance artists. So there's a rebirth in art. Second is religion, a new way of looking at religion that we hadn't ever looked at before. And we're going to talk about that in the second half of this unit, called the Reformation. The third is geography, and you might not think of geography as like something that can be rebirthed, because you think of geography as just like the study of the world, but actually geography is new because we are learning more about the world around us, okay? And we are going out and exploring the world and finding new places that we never knew existed. And then the last one is science. And this is a time of great expansion, a time of great change in the way that scientists really studied. This is a time of people like Copernicus and Galileo, and people that studied the heavens and studied the stars and how they really kind of changed the way we look at the world. All right. Okay, so The Renaissance, it's an Italian word, so the Renaissance really begins in Italy, okay, and specifically in two cities. The first is Florence, and Florence is a city in the north of Italy, and then the second is the city of Venice. So these two cities are really where the Renaissance begins in the 14th century. The cities included a lot of wealthy merchants. And what we mean by that is people had money to spend. People had money to pay other people to make works of art for them, okay? So people were able to do that. And also, you know, think of it like this. It's like it's 1400 and the people living in Italy are surrounded by these ruins and these buildings and things from ancient Rome. And so all around them, they see things like the Colosseum, they see things like all these aqueducts, and they see all these different Roman buildings and bridges and things like that. And they're inspired by that. They are inspired. They want to kind of recreate this history, right? They want to recreate. They're like, we are the descendants of the great Roman Empire. Let's celebrate that. Okay? And so it starts in Italy, but it doesn't really stay in Italy. It actually spreads throughout Europe. And this spreading of culture is called cultural diffusion. And if you know anything about science or have studied this in science, diffusion is the spreading of things. So when you diffuse something, you are basically you are spreading it from its origin. And cultural diffusion is the same way. So the Renaissance spread through Europe. It spread to places like France and the German states and Holland and England. And it spread really through three ways, all right? Through religious contacts, right? Religious contacts. So basically like religious scholars going, religious scholars are really the ones that are going to do the bulk of the traveling in this time period. They're the ones that are going to go to Rome. They're the ones that are going to go to different places around the globe, and the globe to them would be like Europe, and they are going to spread some of these ideas. The second is through military conquests, and what they would do is they would go out and they would conquer new areas, and in doing that, they would go out and spread their ideas to new and places that they had conquered and bring about their own culture. And then the last one is through cultural context. So any kind of writing, any kind of like music, any kind of like poetry, anything that was written at the time, that was a way of spreading these new ideas. And so northern scholars traveled to the south, and they're able to spread these ideas throughout the rest of Europe. All right. Actually, that's where we're going to stop. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through those notes we just went over there about where the Renaissance begins, the cultural diffusion, and how it spreads, and what the Renaissance means. And that is your notes for today. Have a great day.